With the Three Hand Hunter channel, and I want to welcome you back to the channel. And if this is your first time, glad you could make it. You know, I'm going to take a look at the Nodus Sector Pilot. This is the Blackbird edition, and it's a pretty cool pilot watch. One of the things I love most about the pilot watch is the legibility that you get with a pilot watch. This is a Ameritech mid-pilot watch, and as you can see, it's extremely legible as well. And you know, you get a black dial with white hands like this. And you know, the legibility is out of control great, and that's one of the big benefits. Now, one of the other things that I typically do not like with pilot watches is they tend to be a little bit bigger. So, you know, this Ameritech one that's down here, it is a 39mm watch. This also is the 39mm watch. That's what made it such a unique offering to me. I do have a 7¼ inch wrist, so this one fits really well. So let's talk about why I picked the Nodus Sector Pilot Blackbird. Well, it's pretty simple. I recently purchased another Nodus. This is my first Nodus. This is the Nodus Avalon dive watch. I did a review on this, and you should check it out because this is a cool watch. So when one of these Nodus Blackbirds that was already sold out came available, I thought at that point, I need to try it out because I really like the brand. I like what the guys over at Nodus are doing. I love the quality. I love the uniqueness of this microbrand. They're not trying to be anybody else. You can see they take inspiration from different companies, but they don't do homage watches. They're really doing their own thing, and you have to appreciate that as a watch enthusiast. You know, micro brands may or may not be your thing. I like them there's a lot of reasons why I like micro brands, and I'm not going to list them all for you right now. But one of the things that I love about micro brands, it's kind of like eating at a, you know, your favorite local restaurant. You know, you're not eating at a big, huge, you know, conglomerate. You're actually enjoying somebody's personal recipes and really enjoying what they offer and the personal touch behind it. That's how I feel about micro brands. You know, the two gentlemen that started Nodus, when you wear one of their watches, you're wearing their vision, and they are good. They're really good at it. So let's talk about some of the specifications here. Okay, the watch is a 39mm watch at the bezel. The case, you know, you can see how the bezel sits a little outside of the case. The bezel the case may be just slightly smaller, but it actually wears pretty small, in my opinion. It wears like a 39mm watch, which is nice, like I said, for a pilot watch. The other thing I like about the dimension is that you'll notice the screw down crown on the side here. That is an onion crown, which is typical of pilot watches. You'll see onion crowns quite a bit. This one happens to be pretty smooth. This one happens to be a little bit rougher, but it's fine. Because it's not at 4 o'clock, because it's a smaller case, it doesn't dig into my wrist, which that's my biggest concern. Onion crowns are just easy to grip. Even if you have a glove on, you can manipulate everything, and that's what it's there for. 47mm lug to lug right here. Okay, it is a 12.7mm thickness. Now, one of the improvements, oh, by the way, before I say that, 20mm lugs. Okay, one of the improvements, and I know it's probably too late because their newest version should be out, I think, within the next month or two, and I'm filming the end of 2021. Notice the drilled lug holes. I don't like the drilled lug holes that high because it makes it tough when you want to stick, like, let's say a leather strap on. You don't have a lot of distance between the spring bar and the case. or a NATO. Now I wear this typically on this NATO. This is a Wrist Candy Watch Club NATO. It wears perfectly fine. And there's enough distance. But if I had my choice, I'd love to see those drilled lug holes just a little bit lower, if it were me. Now, that's the dimensions of the case. Let's talk about the details of this case, because that's where this watch is just exceptional. The little details and the attention to detail that the guys at Nodus take is really unparalleled for a micro brand. I'm sure there's some micro brands that have some great detail, but man, these are great. So you might be wondering, what is a sector dial? Sector dials don't have to be pilot watches. They're just the circular patterns, the concentric circles inside of the dial. You can Google search and see what a sector dials are. They're on dress watches a lot. Some of the old vintage watches, a lot of dress watches are sector dials. But what you're going to notice with this dial is, see that step up? It's like 2 layers, and that, whoops, sorry, just, there we go. Got fuzzy there for a second. That step up has the numerals. You can see the Arabic numerals. They are not applied. How cool is that? They're 3D molded in the case, so they look like applied indices, but they're not. I had a Christopher Ward, a C65 diver, and one of the indices popped off as I was riding in my car or shooting a weapon or something. I forget whatever it was, but it shook off one of the indices, and that fell off my dial, and I sent it back to Christopher Ward, and like 3.5 months later, I got my watch back. Yeah, they fixed it, but this, you're not going to have that happen, right? You're not. Now take a look at the detail in the dial. This is where it gets really cool. All right, look at the, you've got a day-date complication. Notice that the date wheel is color matched. Now, I know it's difficult to see. It's in that green, and the green is the same color as the second hand. And notice the little white tip going across the very edge of the inner chapter ring, which I'm going to talk about here in a second. But how cool is that? Look at the details there. So many. Day-date complication is great. I love having a day complication. It's really nice. Now, looking really closely at that dial, notice the chapter ring. Okay, see that slope chapter ring in there? At the 3, 6, and 9, you'll notice that they have colored, color match the little indices there. But notice at the very top, at the 12, that in there is the Nodus logo. Now, that is a detail you're not going to see every day, and it's so small you can't, like for me, my eyes are a little older, I can't see it, even when I have readers on, I can't see it. But with the naked eye, it's not very easy to see. You have to kind of really take a good look at that. How cool is that, right? Okay, bezel, bidirectional. It's a pilot watch, so it's a flight timer. You can pull it in either direction. It's nice. It's not dual time, it's just a timer. Friction's nice, but you can knock it loose. So trying to time, how long you want to keep your microwave dinner in the microwave. You might want to do something else, but it's still pretty cool. And one of the things I love about pilot watches, let me say that again. One of the things I love about this pilot watch versus just a normal pilot watch, most pilot watches don't have bezels. I've owned some Damasco, 2 actually, and the one that I had was the DA46, and that, I think DA46, I believe, is a black one anyway. It had a bezel, a timing bezel on the outside. I like that feature. That's probably one of the reasons why I don't own a lot of pilot watches, is because I enjoy having bezels. It's fun. It's fun to turn, to time. It's pretty useful, and it gives the watch a really cool look. All right, focusing a little bit on the case. Notice the chamfered edges and how beautiful they are. Really well done. See the lugs and see how they turn in a little bit. See those little chamferings in there? It's very almost Omega-ish, right? If you've ever owned a Speedmaster, my Speedmaster had turn-in lugs like that. It's not, I don't want to, obviously I'm not comparing it to an Omega, but it's that very subtle little detail that you notice when you've had the watch for a while, and you're like, wow, that's really pretty, right? The case shape, it just comes straight down. But it's super comfortable because of the size of the watch. Now you'll notice the bracelet. It's an H-link bracelet, extremely comfortable, milled clasp, double deployant, okay? Very aviator stylish, and you know, it works for this watch. It really just looks nice. So I'm gonna put it on my wrist here in a second, but I gotta say this before I put it on my wrist. I wanna just say a couple of things. This watch, it wasn't a watch I was looking for at the time, but now that I have it, I can see why they sell out and why they've sold out. You know, one of the other reasons why they've sold out and why they will continue to sell out is because the price of these watches are insanely good. Now, $425 on their site. I don't know if they're gonna raise their prices, but with inflation doing what it's doing right now, I wouldn't doubt if they did, okay? But anyway, for the price. This is an NH36 movement, Super Luminova, and it's got a blue glow. It's a CX or C1X1 grade. It's really cool, and the water resistance is 150 meters. Screw down crown. Gotta love all that. So let me take off. Oh, last thing. Holy cow. Don't go anywhere. Don't turn off. One of the things that's the coolest, I almost forgot. One of the coolest features about this watch, look at the crystal. Now you might look at the crystal and go, Blake, it's just a flat sapphire crystal. That's great and all. Is it? Notice the beveled edge. It allows it to sit a little tall of the bezel insert, which by the way, the bezel insert is just a stainless steel bezel insert. You can remove it, I think, of that bidirectional bezel. But notice the crystal. Do you notice anything different about it? It's got a beautiful AR coating underneath. Do you notice the distortion? It's because it's concave on the inside. It's got an inner dome. Now, there's only one other watch that I've ever owned, and I've owned a lot of watches, and and jump in the comments, by the way. Please jump in the comments if I say anything not correct, or if you had a watch with one of these crystals with an inner dome, or if you've owned a Nodus, because I really appreciate the brand. But let me ask you this. What one have you seen that has that type of crystal? This is an old vintage Citizen. I've owned 4 of these. This is a Challenge Diver. This is a Citizen's answer to the 62 MAS back in the 70s. This is the original crystal. You can see in the light, it's been polished. It's a mineral crystal. But notice how it has that inner dome. It's the exact same crystal. And it gives this really cool distortion to the indices. One of my favorite features of this watch, as I've owned them over the years, like I said, this is my 4th one, but I always loved it. And people look at my watch and it catches eyes all the time. And I know it is because of that crystal. And that's what you have here on the Nodus Sector Pilot Blackbird. Now, the finish of this watch is pretty damn good. And it's, you know, whatever factory that's pumping these out, they do a really great job. Super comfortable bracelet, female end links, you know, solid end links. What a great watch. And you know what? Nodus does one other thing, then I'm gonna let you go. Give me 1 second here. They regulate these watches, and then they show you how they came in time wise, regulating at different positions. It's pretty awesome. And like I said, 425 bucks, you can see why these watches sell out. And if the new one comes out, it's a little bit more expensive, it's well worth it. Nodus makes they make a great product. And I truly appreciate what they're doing out there. And, you know, having a micro brand and, you know, being able to experience somebody else's, you know, vision without it being a homage, there's something to be said for that. And I applaud Nodus for what they're doing. Anyway, if you've made it this far, guys, let me introduce myself. My name is Blake. I'm a bit of a watchaholic. As you can see here, I've got 3 watches in my frame. So if you've made it this far, you're probably a watchaholic too. So if you are, make sure you subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any of our content. If you like to watch these videos, I appreciate it. And I'll see you guys and gals in the next video. Thanks for tuning in.